What we're looking at here is the Astra Group, a drone unit embedded within Ukraine's special forces who are fighting Russia to the north of Kharkiv. They're using some of the latest battlefield tech, FPV or first-person view drones, to blow up Russian vehicles and trenches. These tiny, cheap kamikaze aircraft have been around for years, filming weddings and racing each other. But now some believe they're revolutionizing modern warfare. But are they really the next big thing? Or are they just filling a gap in Ukraine's arsenal? We're going to delve into how an FPV works, analyze this tape, and speak to an expert to find out. There's no single model of an FPV. They're built by dozens of companies, hobbyists, and even by troops on the front line. So they're all a little bit different, but they tend to follow the same design, which starts with an X-shaped frame. This is typically made from carbon fiber or plastic, which is either repurposed from an existing drone, like a racing drone, or created using a 3D printer. At the end of each arm is a small electric motor and a propeller that the drone uses to accelerate and steer. There are 4 in total, making this drone a quadcopter. Having 4 motors means the drones are fast. 60 miles an hour top speed is nothing unusual, but some can reach 100 miles an hour or more, and they can make very sharp turns. Strapped to the underneath of the drone, using cable ties or something similar, is the payload. For FPVs, this is usually an anti-tank shell. Here we're using the warhead from an RPG-7 rocket launcher that probably weighs somewhere between 2 and 4.5 pounds. On top, there's a battery, which gives the drone a range of around 6 miles. And on the front is a small camera, which acts as the drone's eyes, and at the back is a transmitter antenna. You can actually see all of that if we go back to the tape and freeze frame right here. Here's the X-shaped frame, the 4 propellers, the battery, and the antenna. And underneath is the payload, which in this case seems to be an explosive the FPV team has improvised themselves. Once the drone is in the air, the antenna sends a drone's eye view back to the pilot, who uses a headset to control it as if they were on board. This allows the pilots to make incredibly precise adjustments, striking Russian tanks, armoured vehicles, and trenches at their weakest points. This is the true genius of the FPV, turning outdated grenades and anti-tank shells into lethal precision weapons. You can see the pilots wearing their headsets in the footage, here and here. And here, we can see what they're seeing through the drone's camera. This allows them to hit specific weak points on Russian vehicles, blowing them to smithereens. To be effective, the FPV needs to work alongside a surveillance drone, which looks similar but has a better camera. Flying high above the battlefield, their mission is to pinpoint Russian vehicles, troops, or trenches to be attacked. If their commanders decide a target, say a Russian tank, is worth hitting, they will issue orders to a unit to strike it. In the past, that unit might have used expensive anti-tank missiles or artillery shells, but increasingly, the job is being given to cheap FPVs. FPV teams typically deploy between 1 and 3 miles behind the front line, out of immediate danger, but close enough to keep the target within range. They will set up an aerial, which allows them to steer the drone and receive video back from it. Then they will launch. It takes 2 people to navigate, the pilot and a spotter, who reads the location of the target from a tablet computer. Once the tank is in sight, the pilot steers the drone into it, aiming for a weak spot like the tracks, the engine, or the ammo. As the drone hits the target, its payload detonates, destroying the drone itself and hopefully the tank along with it. Now, let's watch all of that in action. Here you can see the Astra team deploying into the field after receiving their orders, riding along in the back of a pickup truck with all their equipment. Once they reach the area they're attacking, they set up their aerial, assemble the drone and its explosive payload, and get it into the air. The pilots then pull on their goggles and get to work. Looking at this slightly blurry name patch, we think this guy's name is Zachik, which means bunny in Ukrainian, which would make sense of all the other rabbit patches he's wearing, and this rather fetching pair of camo bunny ears. Here you can see his spotter using a tablet computer to guide him. Once Zachik can see the target himself, he dive bombs the drone straight into it. The surveillance drone spots an explosion, and the attack is a success. Cue the celebrations before the team packs up and heads back to base. All of which is very impressive, but are FPV drones really a revolution in modern warfare? And can they be compared to the invention of gunpowder or the nuclear bomb? Let's take a step back from battlefield tactics and talk strategy. Ukraine is locked into a war of attrition with Russia. The winner will be whichever side can exhaust the enemy's resources fastest. Russia has a huge natural advantage. It has more of everything: troops, tanks, planes, ships, you name it. And it can easily get more of whatever it needs because it is a massive country with lots of natural resources. That means Putin can afford to take losses and still win. Ukraine doesn't have that luxury. It needs to maximize Russian losses whilst minimizing its own. In other words, Ukraine needs to be efficient. And there are few weapons on the battlefield today more efficient than FPV drones. Before FPVs, taking out troops, tanks and aircraft was mainly the job of artillery and missiles. We saw this at the beginning of the war, when shelling demolished Russian columns on their way into Kiev, while missiles blasted tanks and shot helicopters out of the sky. But artillery isn't all that accurate. A standard 155mm NATO shell has what's called a circular area probable of 650 feet. That means a little over half the time the shell lands 325 feet either side of the thing it was fired at. The rest of the time, it lands outside of this circle. So in order to hit anything with artillery, you can't fire just one shell. You need at least dozens, possibly hundreds, to blanket an area to guarantee a kill. Artillery therefore chews through ammo, and even though shells are relatively cheap and easy to make, Ukraine is constantly running out. Missiles are much more accurate. Using sensors and motors to guide themselves to their targets, you can be fairly sure of a hit even when firing just one or two. But they're very expensive and difficult to manufacture. A single US Javelin costs around $200,000, and even America, with its vast military-industrial complex, only makes just over 2,000 of them per year. FPVs solve the shortcomings of both. They're cheap and easy to make. Almost anyone can knock one up in a shed using a few $100s of components that are readily available online. In fact, a lot of Ukrainians do this, raising funds for them through online donations before sending the homemade weapons to the front. They're also pinpoint accurate, able to fly through tank hatches or strike precise weak points in the armor, often with spectacular results. They're also very hard to stop. Lots of high-tech anti-air defenses could take them down, but the drones are so easy to make there's no point. Eventually, those air defenses will run out of ammo, and then the drones can fly straight through. That means almost everything on the battlefield is vulnerable to them. Ukraine has used them to hit troops, tanks, trenches, artillery guns, even other drones and helicopters. That's why some people think they're revolutionary. They make precision weapons that used to be available to a select few available to almost anyone. We've seen similar technology used successfully in Gaza by Hamas against the IDF, and in the Red Sea by the Houthis against an array of Western navies. But FPVs are not perfect. They struggle to deploy in bad weather, and because they rely on the pilot's vision for targeting, they are vulnerable to things like smoke, fog, and decoys. They are extremely vulnerable to being shot down because they have no protection beyond their speed. One of the weakest points of FPV drones is they rely on a signal to steer. These signals can be blocked by electronic jammers, which cause them to fall from the sky or veer off target. AI might help solve that issue. Ukraine is now experimenting with drones that can select their own targets, meaning they don't need a pilot. No pilot means nobody to communicate with, hence no signal and nothing to jam. There's no doubt these drones have proved a game changer in Ukraine. Their strengths, cheap and deadly, play perfectly into the brutal game of numbers the two sides are playing. In the wide open plains of eastern Ukraine, where tanks are very obvious and obstacles are few, the drones can easily find their way to their targets. But in dense environments that are very difficult to navigate, could a skilled pilot even make it through? And even if they did, they would only be aiming at infantry, which is a far less valuable target.
We wanted to know more, so we spoke to a man who is producing drones for the Ukrainian army.
This is Volodymyr Ladygin of the Direct Inclusion Foundation. First, I asked him what life has been like since Putin's first invasion in 2014.
I hardly remember the time before the war, because the war had started 10 years ago. I was born in Donetsk. It's my native city. I lived there for more than 30 years. And when the war had started, I had to move from there, because I don't want to support this revolution, like they call, like this Russian war, this invasion. I don't want to be a part of it, so I had to move. A lot of people that I knew, that were my relatives, have stayed, and now they're working with this administration, because you have no choice. You must work with them, or you will be killed. You will be taken into basement and like tortured to death. So I've stopped like the whole part of my life. I've stopped communicating with a lot of people, unfortunately. So that was like the breaking point. And for this, all for this like 8 years till the full-scale invasion that Russia, I knew that it would happen, because it is the essence of Russia to make like these sudden attacks, to capture territory, to capture people, to use people. So literally they want to use population of Ukraine as a result for mobilization and for moving to Poland, to Moldova, and to Kaliningrad, because their plan is to reunite all the territory that was like under USSR occupation. So let's call it like this: occupation countries that were occupied by USSR. All this period, like for 8 years, I was preparing a team, I was preparing myself. So now we are living not like usually persons. I have a special panic bag, so with my documents, with some food, with some money, with some medicines, and it is part of life. Even my children know that there is like a panic bag. We need to grab some water, food, and like in a few minutes we have to go. I always keep like a tank of my car full with gasoline. It's like life made me like this.
Then came Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022.
We were ready, we were active, and we started to do so. By the first, we have created our foundation, and we started to help both civilians who suffered from this war and to the military, of course, because a lot of my friends in the first day, they just took these weapons, these Kalashnikovs, 4 magazines of bullets, and they jumped on the military like vehicles and went to war. I wanted to help them because they had no helmets, they had no armor plates, they had nothing. So, and we started to gather everything that we couldn't get, because it was a lack of everything. You know, it was literally like disaster for our country. We started that we have enough helmets, we have enough armor plates, but we need weaponry. And in the situation with a great lack of artillery shells, Ukrainian army made a desperate attempt to use FPV technology. FPV drones, instead of artillery, just replaced it somehow. And in this situation, this usage of FPV technology was so successful that now we have, I don't know, like how many new devices using this technology.
So Volodymyr started helping the military get hold of drones.
We buy just ready product. For example, we buy a lot of Mavics. It's like DJI Mavic 3T, especially drones with thermal vision camera. Also, we're producing from the simplest 7-inch drones. So we just literally print the frame at the ordinary 3D printer and put some modules that we buy in China. China is the best supplier for us, unfortunately. It was like very funny situation when we tried to buy these modules for the first time, these engines, some processors. Chinese sellers, they thought we were Russians, so they started to tell us how to avoid sanctions. It was very funny. We told guys, we don't need it, we just need this weapon. We have understood that they like selling these drones both to us and for Russians. They're just trading to both sides, you know. It was crazy. So our production is not very big. Our foundation is, we are acting independently. We have our own budget. We product, I don't know, maybe 100 drones per year. But if we are talking about the very initiative that we have in Ukraine, we have, for example, Rosaries. This is the most successful project, and they have produced more than 100,000 FPVs. These FPVs were given to the army. It's a really great amount, and all of these were made by volunteering movement. It's not like state sponsorship. It's one of the ways how we Ukrainians see this war to be so unjust towards us. So we literally convert all our hatred into FPVs.
I wanted to know more about the FPVs that Volodymyr produces for the army.
FPV is a technology that allows operator using special glasses, using tablet or using phone and a camera on the very drone to operate drone and hit the target, for example, or to throw an object, grenade or something, or thermite at the positions of the military. So this technology allows now to use this drone even in the drone wars, when we have intelligent drones of Russia and we're using Ukrainian drone to hunt it down. So this technology is very flexible. It allows the person from the safe place to hit the enemy. And this technology reduces the losses of Ukrainian troops, obviously. So what we're doing, we're using in any possible way. Military tells us that we need drones to hit targets, just one-time drones. We make cheapest drones that we can make, like some set of modules. So we are printing this frame, we are putting some models depending on the situation. Then we need to put special program equipment. So we have very good IT specialists that helped us. We're not innovative in this. We just took this all this program equipment that we needed from our friends. Then we need to calibrate it, and this drone is ready to use. We just need to send it to the military. They put these explosives, and that's it. The drone works. So we just need to put several engines. We need to put battery. We need to put this motherboard. So-called. We need to put antenna. We need to put camera, and that's it. The drone is ready. It's not a very big deal. Everybody can do it, even at home. It's not a very complicated technology. The cheapest we can produce, that costs about 300 pounds, 400 pounds, depending on the situation. And this drone have all the possibility to destroy a military tank, for example, that costs millions. It's amazing. It all depends on the mastership of operator. So we need, together with drone, we must always put a good, well-trained operator. And we have, in Ukraine, we have a special academy. We don't involve in this. We only produce drones and buy drones and supplying drones to the military, but we have special center who trains these operators. Because it depends on this, because we can have the best drones, and if operators will not be able to fully operate these drones, it will be useless.
Next, I wanted to know why Ukraine has become a war of drones.
Everything has started from the lack of artillery shells. So literally, Ukraine for defense need to counter enemies' attacks, and the artillery is the best. But if we have enough artillery shells, if we haven't enough, we just need to improvise. We need to have something to replace it. And FPV drones, operators, several operators, and with enough storage of the drones, enough units of the drones, they can stop this attack. So the same effect. And moreover, when you have a lot of drones in the front line, you can completely cut out of the logistic of the enemy forces. So it's very useful. Now a lot of countries are studying the Ukraine's experience, are studying how we can use 3-4 drones that cost 300 pounds to destroy the latest Russian tanks, the most modern Russian tanks, with all the equipment, with all the defense, anti-drone defense that costs millions of dollars by hit of 1, 2, 3, 4 drones. So it's crazy technology, and this is safe. So you can use like this operator that operates these drones from a safe distance. So this operator is out of danger. You just need to have equipment. You don't lose your people. It's very very similar to the Western way of war. Russian way of war, we know, like this meat attacks when they like lose thousands of soldiers for nothing. But the Western way means that you need to be care of your army, and FPV technology allows you to achieve that.
And now the big question. Does Volodymyr think drones are here to stay, or are they only a stopgap?
As we have a lot of experience of using these drones, we will use it. Anyway, if we will have enough artillery shells, it will be much easier to fight back, you know. But we will still use the drones, because it's amazing technology. This technology allows our soldiers to be safe and to repel Russian attacks from a safe distance. And Russia knows that. The most thing they're afraid in the front line are not like bullets or artillery shells. They're afraid of FPV drones. Because we have a lot of good, great guys who are operators of these drones. They can literally make miracles. They can hunt down. I assume that in the nearest future we will have some kind of FPV tanks on the battlefield. Because it's very important to have like a mobile gun that can shoot from a safe distance, and will not like very be upset about if you will lose it. You will upset about money, not about human lives. You know, it's very important. And also this technology, FPVs, it's evolving completely. So now we have these self-guiding systems on FPV drones that allows to hit targets even if the connection with the operator is lost. So all the next wars that we have will contain some kind of experience of Ukraine. Every war, because FPVs showed so much effectiveness. So much Russian tanks and Russian troops were destroyed with this FPV. So for Russian soldier, much greater chance to die from FPV than from anything else in the front line.
That's where this tape stops, but we'll be back soon to play you through another episode of War on Tape. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you want more videos like this in your feed, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.